Today I will be talking about safety and security. I know I said I will talk about maintenance and some parts of maintenance that you didn't cover, but I decided to just go through the entire topic of I decided to go through the entire topic of safety and security today, and then next week I go through the entire topic of maintenance. So to avoid any mix up or any misunderstandings, let's just handle the entire topic. So today, let's talk about safety and security. I am hoping that you saw the notes that I attached. They are very detailed, by the way. All the notes that have been sent in you, it is everything that you should know. So what I will do, because I know that I didn't send you the PDF, I sent you Word because I divided them into topic per topic. But once we are done, because I think we are going to complete this in like 3 weeks to come, because today once I talk about safety, next week I talk about maintenance, the other week I talk about tenancy, and then the last week, the other week, like the fourth week, let's say the last week of June, I'll take you back to water. I know I gave you a question about the water systems, water distribution systems, but I want to take you back to water because there is a sensitive area about indirect water supply and direct water supply. So after that, I'm going to forward you my entire handout, CPE, from topic 1 all the way to the end. Because it's PDF, it has nice diagrams that you are able to like see. If it's fire extinguisher, you're able to see the labeling, how it is used, and such kind of things. So for today, let me talk about safety and security, and we'll start by defining. So let's write security. We are going to define what security is. So security, this is the state of being free from danger. This is the state of being free from danger. So when we are talking about security, we are talking about freedom from danger. The other thing we'll define is safety. Safety. So the definition of safety, it's like safety, security, they are somehow the same thing, but let's define them differently. So safety, this is the condition of being protected This is the condition of being protected against anything or any event. Don't write anything, write any event. This is the condition of being protected against desirable. This is the condition of being protected against any event which could be considered non-desirable. So that is how we define safety. It has another definition of safety is freedom from danger. So we said security is the state of being free from danger. Then safety is the freedom from danger. So as I have said, it's like one and the same thing, and that's why it's one topic: safety and security. So here we are simply talking about how will you be free from danger in the catering and accommodation premise. In that hotel, in that restaurant, that motel, what will make you be free from getting injured or from any other danger. Write a subtopic: the importance of safety and security. the importance of safety and security. I know your question might be specific, like discuss or what is the importance of safety and security in a catering premises. So when I say importance of safety and security, it is simply in the industry, in the catering and accommodation industry. So importance of safety and security, number one, it aids in prevention of crime. It aids in prevention of crime. It aids in prevention of crime. So it prevents crime. When there is security and when there is safety, then there is no crime because everybody knows that they are being monitored. Number two, it helps to minimize accidents. It helps to minimize accidents. So as we've said, freedom from danger. So when there is security, you are not in a position to face an accident easily. So minimizes accident. It provides the staff with a good and secure working environment. It provides the staff with a good and secure working environment. Provides the staff with a good and secure working environment. So here we are trying to say when there is safety and security, even the staff know that they are working in a safe environment. So they are not terrified, they are not fearful, they are working at a good environment. Number four, which is the last importance, it provides a safe and secure place or habitation. You can write habitation instead of place. It provides a safe and secure habitation for the guests and their possessions. For the guests and their possessions. So when a guest comes into the hotel and there is security, one, the guest is at peace. Two, the guest is not having issues of if I leave these things in the room, I might not find them. So the guests, together with their possessions or whatever belongs to them or their belongings, they are safe. So they are peaceful. That is all about importance. Another subtopic. Safety and security requirements in catering and accommodation premises. Safety and security requirements. Safety and security requirements in catering and accommodation premises. So what are the requirements? For instance, if you are running a hotel, you own a hotel. In that hotel, you've employed people and also customers are coming. So what are the requirements? What should you do as the employer? And also what should your staff do to ensure that there is safety and security and the guests are safe? Number one. So this is safety and security requirements in catering and accommodation premises. Number one, check the condition of equipment. Check the condition of equipment before and after use. Check the condition of equipment before and after use. That is one requirement. Now, mostly the equipment we are talking about here are majorly the equipment that will rely on power. For example, if it is in the kitchen, you need to use a blender. First of all, before you even start using it, confirm, is it in good order? Does the cable have any exposed wires? Even after use, check, is it appropriate? Is it proper the way it is supposed to be? So this will help you in minimizing accidents, either before you use it, if you notice there is a problem before you stop, you don't use it. If you notice there is a problem after using, you are able to notify the maintenance department and also prevent the next person from using. Number 2, read the manufacturer's instructions before operating any tool. Read the manufacturer's instructions before operating any tool or using any product. Read the manufacturer's instructions before operating any tool or using any product. Again, do not use equipment blindly. Make sure you know how to use. And how will you know? You don't just assume because this is a mixer, I have used mixers before, so I'm going straight away into using it. It might be having some different parts, some additions, some improved parts of it. So make sure you read the manufacturer's instruction. Every equipment has got a manual. Go through the manual so that you do not end up causing accidents by using it without reading the manual. Point number 3. Ensure that tools and products are used for the purpose intended. Ensure that tools and products are used for the purpose intended and for the correct use. They are used for the purpose intended and for the correct use, and used correctly. What are we saying? Any tool that you are having, any product that you are having, do not substitute its use for another use. Now, for example, do not use, let's say, a knife to try and tighten the nuts of things like pressure cookers or nuts of pans. Maybe umeona handle ya pan inataka kutoka, and then instead of getting the appropriate equipment, unachukua kisu unataka kufunga nayo. Now that is not the appropriate use of that knife. So use each particular equipment for its own intended use. That way, one, you will minimize accidents, that is improving security and safety, and then again you will also improve the life, or you will continue maintaining the equipment the right way. Next, always keep your floor completely dry. Always keep your floor completely dry. So make sure your floor is not wet. That is what we say every time. In the kitchen, in the restaurant, don't walk on wet floor, because that is cause number 1 of falls. A fall is an accident. And you said you want to be free from danger, free from accidents. So make sure your floor is wet, is dry, completely dry. Another point, ensure the workshop is well lit. Ensure the workshop is well lit. So ensure you are having an appropriate lighting. If it is during the day, we said in building, make sure you have appropriate lighting through the natural lighting, having doors and windows which can bring in natural sunlight. If it is at night, then provide artificial lighting, have bulbs. So make sure your workshop is well lit. When we say workshop, we are simply meaning the working area, the practical area. So the place where you are working is what we are calling workshop. Next, put warning signs on slippery areas. Put warning signs in slippery areas. I'm very sure you've seen many warning signs. One, you see when people are mopping, they put a sign imeandikwa wet floor. Same case applies to, you've seen this in supermarkets, especially tiled areas. If the tiles are slippery, you'll see a warning there. Warning, slippery tiles, a slippery floor. So you put such warning signs to just warn people to be more careful, more attentive when they are walking on such areas. Another one, do not run while in the workshop. Do not run while in the workshop. Hakuna kukimbia workshop, so you move steadily. So there is no running. Remember, when you run, that is also what we call excessive haste, which can lead to accidents, majorly falling down. And once you fall, maybe you fall, you are carrying a knife or you are carrying hot water, such kind of thing. So you not only suffer from one accident, but many other accidents, and you may also cause other people harm. Another point, another requirement, dry your hands when handling electric tools. Dry your hands when handling electric tools. So as we know, we can suffer from electric shock. So to avoid that, anytime you are handling electric equipment, make sure your hands are dry. Another point, store tools in their right places when not in use. Store tools in their right places when not in use. So if you are not using knives, put them where you're supposed to put them. If you are not using a chopping board, if it's in the restaurant, you are not using the water jugs, put them back in store. If you're not using fish knives, take them back in their rightful place. That is all about the safety and security requirements. When you look at my handout, you will see that there are very many. There are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Around 15, but the ones I've given you, they are enough. Let's go to another subtopic. Fire precautions in catering and accommodation premises. Now, you told me that you learned about fire. I don't know whether you did the fire precautions. So let me go through them. In case you have them, you just listen, confirm whether you have all of them. If you do not have, then make notes on them as I go through them. So, fire precautions in catering and accommodation premises. What are fire precautions? First of all, a precaution is something you do to prevent something from happening. So if it is fire precaution, they are things that we do to make sure that fire does not occur or to prevent fire from occurring. Number one, cover all unused electrical outlets. Cover all unused electrical outlets. What are electrical outlets? I know you've seen open wires, mahali kunafaa kuwekwa socket. Wires ziko nje na hakuna socket. What we are saying ni funika hiyo place. You've seen people putting those plastic switches. Haina switch, haina place ya kuswitch on ama off, but it's plastic and it's sealed. That means ukifungua hiyo seal ndani, you'll find open wires. So hiyo kitu inaweza tolewa na hapo kuwekwe switch either ya kulight ama kuwekwe socket ya kuweka an equipment kama kuka ya light ifanye ikuwe na power. So we are saying cover all the unused electrical outlets. So if you have such openings na hazitumiki, hazijawekwa switch ama socket, cover them. Have that plastic like thing yenye inakaa switch yenye ina place ya switch on and off. Number 2, arrange electrical cords. Cords ni cables. You arrange them. Arrange electrical cords. Hiyo nimeandika hapo. Arrange electrical cords in such a way that they don't dangle loosely. Don't write dangle there. Dangle ni kuning'inia, zisikuwe zinaning'inia. They do not dangle loosely or entangle each other. Entangle ni kufungana fungana. Or entangle each other. So arrange electrical cords so that they do not dangle loosely or entangle each other ama with each other. So kama uko na hizo your equipment ziko na codes kama blender, kuna cable ya blender, kuna cable ingine ya jug, kuna cable ingine ya iron box, kuna another cable of a different item, zisikuwe zina hang loosely, and then pia zisifungane, zishikanishe hizo equipment. Another point number 3, precaution. There should be a smoke detector installed. There should be a smoke detector installed on every level of the premises. There should be a smoke detector. Now I know you're hearing somebody saying worry, because I usually teach you from my kitchen, and my kitchen is near the balcony, so you just have to bear with that person. Now, we write the point or listen to it if you have it. We've said there should be a smoke detector installed on every level of the premises. Installed on every level of the premises. As an extra precaution. As an extra precaution. Full stop. What are we saying? Have smoke detectors. What are smoke detectors? They are those items, they are like alarms, which will detect if there is smoke and notify you in case that smoke is like going to lead to a fire. So they will notify you before the fire actually occurs. The other point, keep flammable materials. Keep flammable materials. Keep flammable materials away from heat sources. Keep flammable materials away from heat sources. Away from heat sources. So you do not want anything flammable. Anything flammable is something which can easily catch fire. So anything that can easily catch fire, usiweke karibu na heat. You know, when you did production theory, we are taught that for fire to begin, there should be either heat or oxygen or fire itself. So where there is heat is a component which can cause fire. So putting a flammable item near heat is like igniting fire. The next one, the next point. Store all flammable products. Store all flammable products in cool, well-ventilated places. Store all flammable products in cool, well-ventilated places. So anything which is flammable, anything which can catch fire easily, does not need to be stored near heat. That was our previous point. So here we are saying, don't store it near heat. Now store it in a cool, well-ventilated place. A cool place is a place that is going to enable free circulation of air, and also the temperatures will be low, so there will be no trigger to cause fire. Now, another point, fireplaces and especially chimneys. What is a chimney? And especially chimneys. A chimney is that part which will extract smoke, extract stale air from the building. So fireplaces and especially chimneys should be cleaned and inspected. Should be cleaned and inspected by a reputable professional. By a reputable professional every year. Fireplaces and especially chimneys should be cleaned and inspected by a reputable professional every year. So a professional is somebody who is a specialist in doing a particular task. So a person who is a professional, a person who is a specialist in cleaning and inspecting fireplaces and chimneys should do that work at least once every year. The other point, I'm going to give you the other point, which is the last one. Again, these points are so many. When you open my handout, or if you've already opened it, you've seen. They are like 10, more than 10. But now I'm giving you the last one. Matches, match ni kiberiti, as you know. Matches, lighters, and all flammable materials. Matches, lighters, and all. I'm very sure you've seen lighters. They are mostly used in the kitchen. Although I know you used to like to use matchboxes, but at least I know you've seen lighters in the supermarket. So they light stoves. So matches, lighters, and flammable materials should be kept out of reach of children. Should be kept out of reach of children. Full stop. So that is enough about the fire precautions in catering and accommodation premises. But as I have said, for more, you simply open the handout that I attached on safety and security. You are going to find more than 10 points there. Now, next, I'm talking about fire safety practices. Fire safety practices. And in fire safety practices, now I feel like sending you my PDF handout will be better. But before I send it, because I've said I will send it once we are done, when we will be revising, I want you to do this. Under fire safety practices, I want you to have something like a tea table. One side write causes of fire, and the other side you write firefighting equipment. So you want to know which particular firefighting equipment switches off or puts off which type of fire. So one side causes of fire. The other side firefighting equipment. Then we write number 1 under causes of fire. Flammable substances. Flammable substances like wood, pepper, and grass. Flammable substances such as wood, peppers, and grass, into brackets, class A fires. So we are classifying the fires the same way you classified them in production theory. Class A fires. We say that class A fires, we also call them natural fires. Zinatokana na vitu kama peppers, wood, things that catch fire easily. And they are natural things. See gas, see your kerosene, no, the natural items, even pieces of cloth, is only natural. So those are class A fires. Now, under the firefighting equipment for that fire, right, extinguishers labeled class A fires. Extinguishers labeled class A fires. Now when we say every extinguisher, we know we have different colors. We have the red, the blue, the green, and which other one? The black. Now, those colors usually have different contents in there. Najua mlisoma hiyo kwa production. So when we say extinguishers labeled class A fires, they are extinguishers like the red one yenye iko na maji, ama the hose pipe pia iko na maji, inaweza zima moto kama hiyo. Pia yenye iko na mchanga, the buckets with soil or with sand, inaweza zima hiyo. So each fire extinguisher is usually written the kind of fire that it can extinguish. Kuna zingine zinaweza extinguish more than one, kuna zingine they can only specifically extinguish only one. So extinguishers labeled class A fires. Number 2, Another cause of fire, flammable substances like petrol, paraffin, and chemicals. Flammable substances like petrol, paraffin, and chemicals. Into brackets, class B fires. Now these are other flammable materials, but they are not the natural for the natural fire. These ones are from petrol. So petrol, paraffin, and chemicals, those are known as class B fires. So we go to the firefighting equipment. Fire extinguisher labeled class B fires. Fire extinguisher labeled class B fires. Fire extinguisher labeled class B fires. Number 3, electrical faults. A fault is a shortcoming. Fault, F-A-U-L-T. Electrical faults, that's another cause. Electrical faults, e.g., faulty sockets or equipment. Electrical faults, e.g., faulty sockets or equipment. Maybe ni socket ndio mbaya ama your equipment ndio mbaya. So electrical faults, e.g., faulty sockets or equipment. Into brackets, class C fires. Class C fires. That's another class of fire, class C. Under fire extinguisher, we write fire extinguisher labeled class C fires. In other words, this is an electrical fire. So when there is an electrical fire, there are those extinguishers that we use, and they're labeled class C fires. Then the last one that I'm going to talk about, the other cause, the last cause, flammable metals. Flammable metals. Into brackets, class D fires. Flammable metals, into brackets, class D fires. Class D fires. Under firefighting equipment, you write fire extinguisher labeled class D fires. Fire extinguisher labeled class D fires. Okay. Now, before I continue, I know you've seen fire extinguishers. I do not know whether you know the parts of a fire extinguisher, how to operate a fire extinguisher, but a fire extinguisher has got many parts. We have the handle, we have the safety pin. Safety pin is what we remove. So that we are able to press to remove the contents inside your put on fire. We have the hose or the nozzle. Nozzle is the part yenye una point at the source of fire and then switch off the fire. Okay, hoping you go back to school and have a fire extinguisher and do that. Now, write a subtopic. Fighting fire in a workshop. Fighting fire in a workshop. So how do we fight fire when it happens? Fighting fire in a workshop. So if you didn't handle this, fighting fire in a workshop, you can write. If you did, you can simply open your notes and follow through. Anything that you do not have, you can add. So fighting fire in a workshop. Number 1. Point number 1. Fire is fought depending on the size and the source of fire. Fire is fought depending on the size and the source of fire. So is it big? Is it small? And what is the source? Is it, when we say source, we are asking, is it class A fire, class B, or class C? So before you even start fighting the fire, you will consider, because you are not going to start using the wrong fire extinguisher, because it is not going to work. Number 2, small fire resulting from flammable substances. Small fire resulting from flammable substances is fought by covering the source of fire. Small fire, kama moto ni kidogo, it does not spread a lot, it's not big. So resulting from flammable substances. Remember, flammable substances ziko mara mbili. We can have the natural ones kama paper, wood, piece of cloth, glass, or we can have petrol or paraffin. So any of those from flammable substances is fought by covering the source of fire, with a fire blanket. Covering the source of fire with a fire blanket, or covering the source of fire with a fire blanket, or I am hoping that you know fire blanket, because anytime I teach about fire blanket, reminds me of somebody who had that question in their NEC exam as a demonstration, a DFB module 2, but that was not in ZTEC, it was somewhere else. So they didn't know what a fire blanket is. So the person came with an entire blanket from home. So in our kitchen in school, we usually have fire blankets. So make sure you know what a fire blanket is. So we continue writing or following through if you had it. So covering it with a fire blanket or spraying carbon dioxide from a fire extinguisher. Or spraying carbon dioxide from a fire extinguisher. Carbon dioxide from a fire extinguisher. Point number 3. Big fire resulting from an explosion. What is an explosion? Mlipuko. Kama moto imelipuka. Big fire resulting from an explosion is fought using hose reels. Hose reels. HOSEREELS. What is a hose reel? Ile kipipe mrefu, you see it, for example, in school, you see it near Esbon or near the security guards there. Yenye saa ingine Martin huwa anaitoa maji, so that one ni hiyo kipipe jirola hapo, hiyo ndio hose reel. It has water and it can be increased the pressure inaweza kuwa increased. So big fire resulting from an explosion is fought using hose reels. Number 4, fire resulting from electric faults. Fire resulting from electric faults is fought by spraying halogen. Halogen is a gas. Halogen. Fire resulting from electrical faults is fought by spraying halogen from a fire extinguisher. Full stop. So that is how we fight fire in a workshop. On to my last subtopic regarding security. Legal aspects on safety and security requirements. Legal aspects on safety and security requirements in catering and accommodation premises. Legal aspects, in other words, what does the law say, or what does the law provide regarding safety and security in catering and accommodation premises? And we know that a premise is a building. So anytime we say premises, think of a hotel, a restaurant, a bar, a pub, anything that is in line with hospitality. So legal aspects on safety and security requirements, safety and security requirements in catering and accommodation premises. Then write this statement before we start listing them. As from 1993, 6 health and safety at work regulations have come into force. As from 1993, 6 health and safety at work regulations have come into force. Namely, so I'm going to be mentioning the regulation and what is provided in that regulation. For example, nikisema number 1, workplace regulation. That is one legal aspect. So what does that act contain? What does it say about the regulation of the workplace? So number one, management of health and safety at work. Management of health and safety at work regulation 1992. Management of health and safety at work regulation 1992. Now I know we've said as from 1993, but then we had this one which was there before, so it is not like it was left out. No, it was amended and more were added. Management of health and safety at work regulation 1992. So under it, write A. So whatever we are writing, A, B, C, those are the provisions of the regulation, provisions of the act. So if there was this act about health and safety at work, what did the act provide? A, risk assessment. A is risk assessment. So this is like saying in that act, it was agreed that 1, we must check the risk assessment or conduct a risk assessment. What is a risk assessment? It is to check whether this particular equipment is going to cause danger to somebody who is going to handle it. So before it is even used, carry out a risk assessment. If it is buying a new, let's say a new coffee maker, do a risk assessment. Is it going to injure someone? Do we have people who are able to operate it? Do we have a source of power, a dependable source of power? Is that particular equipment well connected? Does it have any exposed wires? That is to carry out risk assessment. B, control of hazardous substances. Control of hazardous substances. HAZARDOUS. Hazardous substance. We usually say that a hazard is something which can cause danger, which can cause a risk. So hazardous substances are those substances which can cause danger or risk. So that is provision, the second provision, that is B on the first regulation, control of hazardous substances. In other words, minimize or limit the use of substances which are able to cause danger in the workplace. C, training. C is training. And this one is usually a must. Training is a must because you do not employ staff and expect them to work with your equipment when you have not trained them how to use them. Those people might end up getting injured by the equipment. Okay, legal aspect number 2. Legal aspect number 2, workplace regulation. Workplace regulation. When we say workplace regulation, here the law is asking the employer, and here the employer, the person I'm referring to, employer, is the owner of the premise. If you are the owner of the hotel, what is a workplace regulation? The law is asking you, because you have this hotel and you are going to employ people, what things have you put in place to make sure that these people are not going to be injured? For example, if it is a kitchen, what type of floor do you have in your kitchen? One which people are not going to be sleeping and falling every time. If it is a restaurant, which chairs are in the restaurant to make sure what material is used to make your chairs, to make sure that guests will not be falling down every time they sit on your chairs. So when we look at workplace regulation, to regulate is like to manage or to control. How will you control your place to make sure it is not dangerous? So under workplace regulation, we have a floor to be of suitable construction. The floor to be of suitable construction. B, floor free from hazardous articles or substances. Floor free from hazardous articles or substances. For example, maji isikuwe imemwagika all over kwa restaurant, so that your customers will not fall down, or even the staff will not fall down. Again, if it is in the restaurant, glass zikivunjika zisipatikane huko, zinaweza kata your customers or even yourself, the staff, the supervisors. Those are hazardous substances, so they should not be on the floor. Floor free from hazardous articles or substances. Then C, steps taken to avoid slips, trips, and falls. Steps taken, that is C. Steps taken to avoid slips, trips, and fall. So as the owner of the restaurant or the owner of the hotel, what steps have you taken to make sure people will not slip, they will not trip, they will not fall in your premise or your establishment? Regulation number 3. Regulation number 3. Manual handling. Manual handling operation regulations. Manual handling operation regulations. What is it? Mathematics. Manual handling operation regulations. Now, what is this? Manual handling means what? The things that will not rely on power, the ones that you use your own energy to handle them. For example, kama ni kisu ni wewe unakata na hauta connect kisu kwa stima ikate. It's you who is going to cut. So that is manual handling. So how are your staff supposed to handle equipment or items at work? So under manual handling, we have a reducing incorrect handling of loads. Incorrect handling of loads. What is a load? Load ni kama mzigo. For example, you are carrying ingredients from store to the kitchen. How are you carrying? Najua mkisoma production, mlisoma an accident like a back strain. Yeah, back strain. And you said the reason for that is overstraining your back either by lifting too heavy items. Now, those too heavy items are what we are calling loads. So in manual handling, something that you should not do is reducing incorrect handling of loads. Make sure you handle everything correctly. Number 2, B about it. B or number 3, preventing hazardous handling. Preventing hazardous handling. So hazardous handling is like dangerous handling. For example, when you are handling the knife, you handle from the handle, not from the blade. So hazardous handling. Legal aspect number 4. Legal aspect number 4. Fire precautions in the place of work. Fire precautions in the place of work. And everybody who has a hotel, they have the operation policy on what will they do in case of fire. It is not because they are saying that fire will come. No, they are just getting prepared, and that is why it is law. It is law that if you are operating any catering premise, you must have the fire policy. to state what will happen in case of fire. So, under fire precaution in places of work, A, means of firefighting. How will you fight the fire? Means of fire fighting. So in other words, you will be needed to explain or to give evidence of, in case of fire, how are you going to fight it? How many types of fire extinguishers do you have, and how many are they, depending on the size of your establishment? B, evacuation procedures. Evacuation procedures. What is to evacuate? Kutoa watu building. So evacuation of staff, evacuation of guests or customers. What are your evacuation procedures? And that's why in most big buildings you will see kuna exit, which is marked exit. So in case of fire, there is a given direction of where people should leave the building through. C, raising the alarm. Raising the alarm. So that is another requirement, that you should be having a fire alarm. Raising the alarm. Legal aspect number 5. Legal aspect number 5. Provision and use of work equipment. Provision and use of work equipment. Provision and use of work equipment. 1, as an owner of a premise, you are expected to provide your staff with equipment. That's why, for example, in the hospitality industry, you see workers with uniform. They do not buy their uniform and go with it to work. No. The owner of that establishment provides them with protective clothing, because ukimwagikiwa na supu huko, ikuchome miguu ama ikuchome kwenye itakuchoma, and you didn't have protective shoes, or you didn't have a chef jacket, you didn't have an apron, then it will be upon the employer to explain why you didn't have protective clothing. So for them to make sure you have protective clothing, they must provide. You don't go to work with your own knives, with your own blenders, with your own ovens. No, they are provided by the employer, because that is their requirement according to the law. So provision and use of work equipment. A, ensure correct usage. Ensure correct usage. B, they should be properly maintained. So those work equipment, they should be properly maintained. And C, training is given. Training is given. So that is what the law says. Provide your workers with equipment. Then, what about it? After giving them the equipment, what else will you do? 1, make sure they use it correctly. Make sure you train them about it, and make sure the equipment is properly maintained so that it does not cause danger. The last legal aspect, number 6. Health and safety. Health and safety. Health and safety. Into brackets, display screen equipment. Into brackets, display screen equipment. Display screen equipment. Now, what is a display screen equipment? Display screen equipment. Screen ni kitu kama kioo. So display screen equipment are those equipments that are going to be displaying items on screen, but then they are operated by people. You have a person who has the power of, or the work or the duty to operate the display screen equipment, for the equipment to be able to display whatever that it is supposed to display. So health and safety, display screen equipment. Under it, you only have 1 point. A, to see that staff using visual display units. To see that staff using visual display units, have a suitable workplace, and take regular breaks. To see that, staff using visual display units, have suitable workplace, and take regular breaks. So those are the six legal aspects on safety and security requirements in catering and accommodation. Now, lastly, write these revision questions down. These are my revision questions on the topic of safety and security. 1. Explain the importance of safety and security in catering premises. Explain the importance of safety and security in catering premises and accommodation. What is the importance of safety and security in CPE? Number two, explain any 5 security precautions. Explain any 5 security precautions that should be taken in a catering and accommodation premise. Explain any 5 security precautions that should be taken in a catering and accommodation premise. Then question number 3. Explain any 5 safety precautions. Explain any 5 safety precautions. Explain any 5 safety precautions that should be taken in catering and accommodation premises. Explain any 5 safety precautions that should be taken in catering and accommodation premises. Now, the 3 questions that I have given you on this particular topic, that is assignment 1 for this term. So what you are going to do, you are going to write down the question and the answers, either handwritten or you will type. If you have a laptop, you will type. If not, you will write down, uanze kuanza kawaida kwa kitabu yako, then utapiga picha kama utaandika kwa book, then you will send to my email on Monday. So Monday, that is when I will be expecting the work. So let me type for you my email hapa kwa chat. Make sure you send to this email, that is assignment 1. So you uandike your name, your registration number ikiwa full, ile ya shule. That is assignment 1. Next week nitawapea part 1. Zote ni take away, so that work mfanye Monday peke yake, that's when I'll be receiving the work. So fanya hiyo kazi from leo, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday unaweza tuma up to Monday usiku 11 pm. Ikishafika midnight nipo. Midnight itakuwa ni Tuesday. So Monday I need the work. Now, do you have questions? Niulizwe maswali kabla nimalize class, because I'm not going to talk about anything else. So I've said next week I'll talk about maintenance, the entire topic of maintenance, which is not that long. Talk about maintenance, then I talk about tenancy that other week before I go back to water. Because there is something very important that, or very common questions about water that you should know, especially indirect and direct water systems. Maswali zikuje, na kama hamna pia mniambie hayako. Na sijui kwa nini hampendi kuongea. You just like typing. So I should be talking a lot. Okay, examples of display screen equipment, sawa. Another question. I thought somebody else was typing a question. Okay, question 1, how many answers? Sawa, pia hiyo nitajibu. Next. Now, Joroge, Aida. Display screen equipment ni vitu mingi. Hata laptop is a display screen equipment. CCTV is a display screen equipment. All the PCs are display screen equipment. So when we talk about a display screen equipment, it's simply any equipment that is going to be displaying items. Kama CCTV, smartphone, laptops, personal computers, tablets, hizo zote. They are display screen equipment. Now, number 1. What was my first question? Let me see. Niko nazo, msifikiria ati sina. Nikwambie the first question. Ziko hata hapo kwa handout. They are in your handout now. My question number 1 was explain the importance of safety and security. 5. Give me 5. Najua number 2 na number 3 pia ni 5, but pia number 1 give me 5. I know I have given you how many? I've actually given you all of them. Sawa, 5. Just give me 5. Just give me 5. Any other question? Amon Charles, hauna swali? Atieno Doreen, no question. Atieno Ogola, question. Auka Nathan, question. Sophie, question. Deritu Magdalene, question. Joan, Ogendi, Rosemary. Maswali yaziko? Okay, then I'm going to end the session at that. So we meet next week. Same time, same place. Joan, umeacha kutype? Sawa, you are welcome. Sawa, huna swali? Okay, then let's call it a day. Let me end the session.